else and just relax and breathe. And let's imagine just coming together in our beautiful home in the gazebo on the side of the mountain in China. And you can see the mountains in the distance, the Dragon and Tiger Hills on each side. And we're all gathered here together in the center. The Ming Tong, just welcoming all of the positive chi energies into our sacred space. And let's begin our time together with the ringing of the bells of hope. Hmm, beautiful. So I'm going to hand it over to Melissa. And I'm
Thank
going to mute um, everybody else if you don't mind.
Okay, thank you, RD. Hello, everybody. It's so great to be with everyone today, and I'm very excited. And congratulations for Bells on 3 years. And RD and I had a conversation about the lifespan of Bells so far, and from an astrology standpoint, what does that look like? And that's a very interesting question. So that's how we came together today. And I want to thank all of you who volunteered and helped me when I started doing the astrology readings at the beginning of the year. And I do have, for the ones I remembered to record, I do have transcripts and recordings, and I have promised them to you, and they are coming. But as I've been working on how to present the information, it's turned into like a little bit of a study guide. So now I have this 30-page study guide to help people understand their charts. And so one or two of you have gotten some drafts, but they are coming, so just bear with me. But I thought that how we would start today, I like to say, astronomy is a science, but astrology is the poetry. It's the story from all over the world. So as many of you know, there are so many different schools of astrology, and they have slight differences. For example, in Chinese astrology, there are 5 elements. In Western astrology, which is what I've been studying, there are 4. That's a small example. But I thought I would share a story. I'm going to share my, oh, actually, I don't have to share my screen because my friends are right behind me. So I thought, I thought I would share a story with you from Tibetan mythology that I think will help give some context to how old astrology is. So behind me, you see a gentleman with his Tibetan pony, and behind him is also, behind that camouflage behind the flowers, is another Tibetan pony. But what you see here is this really lovely connection between a human being and an animal. And you see how the pony's ears are a bit forward and its nose is extended, and the hand here is just touching, and they're feeling the energies of each other, because back thousands of years ago, there was no artificial illusion of separation. All sentient beings were connected in some way. And so the story that I'm going to share with you from Tibetan mythology around the creation of the horse is that the Tibetans explain how the horse came to be by saying its mother was eagle and its father was monkey, and monkey and eagle got together. And the eagle laid her eggs and nurtured her eggs. And what popped out of the eggs was this gangly creature that was shaky on its legs and whinnied and made these noises and ran down to the lake and started taking sips of water from the cool lake. And then became a friend, very social to other people who came to see this magnificent creature. So the reason behind Mother is Eagle is because when human beings started observing the horse and the way the horse runs when you see them gallop, they in a gallop, there is a moment when all four hooves are off the ground. All four hooves are off the ground. And that it looks like flying. So that's why Mother is eagle, one reason. The second reason why Mother is eagle is because of the eagle's vision, how far the eagle can see, the small perceptible things that the eagle notices in its environment. So the early people thought the horse had vision such as the eagle, which is actually not the case. The reason why they thought the horse was so perceptive is because its hooves are like stereo speakers, and it can pick up vibration long before it sees a predator, or in military times, long before it sees the enemy, it feels the enemy. So people started to think of the horse as a psychopomp in some ways, because it always picks its head up and it seems to know. Monkey, the father, is very clever. And the reason why the horse's father is Monkey is because the horse is a prey animal. And so it always has to stay one step ahead of its competitor, or its predator. So it's considered clever in the way that it evades its predators. So this is a lovely story about wholeness and how these two beings come together to create the horse. Now, when we go to Western mythology and we think about, well, what's the horse's story in Western mythology? Well, in Western mythology, Perseus goes into the temple and chops off Medusa's head, and all this blood spurts everywhere. And out of all this blood comes Pegasus, and comes Arion. And Pegasus, interestingly enough, has wings, so this idea of the horse being swift on the ground. But the horse comes in Western mythology into being through a very violent means. And I think that kind of speaks to the real warring factions and the struggle between the matriarchal cultures and the patriarchal cultures, and a struggle for power. So two very different creation stories, just as astrology has many different approaches to its study. So I wanted to share that with you, just as an example. So now I'm going to what I thought I would do is share the screen, and we're going to look at RD's natal chart first. And for the day that the bells started, what were the stories in the sky that were happening the day, RD started bells? And I'm going to show you a little bit about the planets, because planets in astrology represent facets of character. So this is about the archetypes, the facets of character. The signs, like RD is a sun sign of Virgo, the signs represent how the character is expressed. And the houses show us where the activities are, what's happening in the areas of life. So in Western astrology, there are 12 houses. It's a 12-house system because people lived in such a way that they could compartmentalize the 12 things that happen in life. And over the years, that became the 12 tribes of Israel. That became based on the planets that were visible in the sky at the time, the 7 sacraments in the Catholic Church, so belief systems evolve over time. So we're going to start with RD, and then we're going to look at the bells as the group chart. And I'm going to talk a little bit about the composition of this group. And then we're going to look at some themes and what's happening in the sky today. And we'll end with big questions. So does that sound good to everybody? Okay. Yay. All right. So here we go with the screen share. Oh, host disabled participant screen sharing. Okay, so let me just see here. All right, so everybody can see this? Everybody can see RD's chart here? All right, so I'm just going to point out a couple of things, and we'll start with the sun, because the sun is the most powerful luminary in the sky. And we know it's not technically a planet, but in astrology, we talk about it as in the context of a planet. So RD's sun, when bells started, was at 14 degrees of the sign of Aries. And Aries is the first sign in the Western astrology calendar. And it's spring. It is initiator energy. It is let's make it happen. And it's here in his transiting his first house at the time of the bells. I think let me make something clear here. In RD's natal chart, which is the interior circle, let me back up. The interior circle that we're looking at here is his natal chart, where his sun is in Virgo. Okay. What I just pointed out, because I was so excited, I jumped ahead of myself, is that the transiting sun, the story in the sky, was in the sun sign of Aries. So I wanted to point that out to you. RD's rising sign, and the rising sign is how you present yourself in the world, how others see you. There's no surprise here. It's the sign of Aquarius. And Aquarius is all about the future. It's all about innovating and tomorrow. And so no surprise that RD has a sun in Virgo, which is about crystallizing and purifying information and analyzing and putting everything in its place. And people see him as doing that for the world because his rising sign is here in Aquarius. He has those characteristics and capabilities. But the other interesting thing that I wanted to point out about this when RD started the bells is over here in the 7th house. This is the house of relationships. This little asteroid Juno is making a conjunction. It's blending its energies with the moon. And this is a lovely relationship energy here in the sign of Libra, which is about balance and harmony and striving for equality and justice. And that's a lovely energy in which to start a group. But also down here in the 6th house, this is the house of routine. It's the house of health. It's about how you approach your job and role in the world, your role in the world. And on the day the bells began for RD, the moon in Leo was making a beautiful blending conjunction here with Venus in Leo. And you're going to understand, I hope, why that's important as we start to look at the bells chart. But lastly, I want to point out where his north node is. Here in the 12th house, the house of the unconscious, the house of spirituality, the house of where we become undone so that we can be remade in the spiritual sense. Here is his north node, you know, that the node of fate, the node of destiny. It's in Aquarius in this house of spirituality. And it's making a very interesting blending here with the planet Saturn, which is about discipline and time and order. It's an organizing principle. And here with Mars, the planet Mars, which is also in Aquarius. And so I look at this and I say to myself, wow, here is a spiritual warrior. Here is a spiritual warrior. What is he going to do with this energy? Because the planets don't make us do things. The archetypal energy of the planets raise our awareness for us to make plans. And here at the very top of RD's chart is the vertex in Scorpio, which is a fixed water sign. And the vertex here is considered a point in space. It's not a planet, but this is considered a portal. It's considered a door. And so Scorpio is the most passionate and intense sign of the zodiac. And so RD is about to go on a journey through a door. So with that, let me show you the bells chart, because the bells, you collectively as a group, are your own energy. You have your own chart. And what's really interesting to me when I looked at this is, wow, RD's north node in his natal chart was in the 12th house. In the natal chart of the bells, look at this, the bells north node is also in the 12th house, the highest level house of spiritual development. And it's in the sign of Cancer. Cancer is a cardinal water sign. Cancer is the oceans of the tide. And what's real, you know, the tide comes in, the tide goes out, it's timeless, it's formless, it's infinity in many ways. And the interesting thing about this is that the stars in the constellation of Cancer are in the same cluster, general big sky cluster, as the sign of Taurus. There's a bit of a relationship there. And what's interesting to me when I look at the makeup of the bells, the dominant sun sign of the bells as a group is the fixed earth sign of Taurus. And interestingly, the bells as a group in the sun signs, there's not a lot of water. Water is the least prominent element, yet the ruler of the chart is the moon and water. And just when I pointed out, which means that emotion collectively is very, very powerful and very evident in the collective because of the birth time and place and date of when the bells started. And also, the moon here is in Leo in the second house. The second house traditional ruler is Taurus, which is the dominant sun sign in this group. And the moon here is making a beautiful trine to the sun at 14 degrees in the 10th house in Aries. So the 10th house is about power and authority and career and making things happen. And so this is a very, very beautiful trine of fire energy in this group. And the other interesting thing, if we go back to look at RD's transit, the moon for him was at 12 degrees in Leo, in this house of health and well-being. And then for Bells, it's 12 degrees Leo in this second house, which represents our values. So it's the Taurus is the sensualist. Taurus is about our personal values. It's about how we value the people and the things that we have in our lives, our resources. And so I think it's beautiful that for the group, the moon is in the second house, trining the sun, making a very beautiful energy. The other really interesting thing, if Bells had started at 12:30 in the afternoon rather than 11:30, Venus over here in the 11th house of groups would have moved, because it's at 29 degrees, it would have moved 1 degree and it would be at 0 degrees of Venus. And that would be making a trine with Mars and Saturn. So I'm going to use a little leeway here and say that there is a trine that there is a trine that is just forming here, because Venus is, would have changed if this had been an hour later. And what's really interesting to me is the 8th house right here is the house of transformation. It's the subterranean level. It's the deep places that we don't want to go, but need to go in order to evolve to a higher level of consciousness. And if you think back to what I said earlier about spiritual warriors, here we have Saturn at 2 degrees in Aquarius, making a conjunction, blending its energy with Mars, the warrior, at 2 degrees, Venus at 0 degrees, says that this is the beginning of a journey. This is the beginning of a spiritual journey. And that's where you all were at the very beginning of Bells. So I'm going to show you where you are today now, and we'll look at this. So right at the moment today, there's something very, very interesting happening for Bells, and that is we have Pluto. Pluto is a god of war. It's the traditional ruler of the planet Mars. Mars is also a god of war, and these two together are military warriors over the sign of Aries. But here we are at 0 degrees, 0 degrees. So again, on the journey, this is the 7th house of relationships in the sign of Aquarius. So this is a group that's very interested in what is happening in the world and how to make an impact in the world. And again, we're having this conversation on a day where Venus just went into Gemini, 0 degrees of Gemini, and here it is, actually making a square with Saturn in the 9th house, and this is in Pisces. So this is saying to the group, now is a good time to start thinking about what choices do we want to make as a group? What options are available to us? Because Venus is in the 11th house, and next, not far from Venus, but making a conjunction here with Uranus, is Juno, the goddess of relationships. This is an asteroid, pairing up with Uranus, which is the ruler of RD's chart. Uranus is the sky god. He's the god of the unexpected and chaos. And the idea with Uranus is it's like a flash of lightning. It's those quick insights. And so Juno is saying, hey, Uranus, what can we do? We want to take our relationship to the next level. What can we do? What are our options? Venus is saying that Saturn over here, our organizing principle, is ready to start switching things up. What might some ideas be? So that's a bit of what's happening here in the sky. And then we come to the idea of progressions. So the word horoscope means, literally means the hours. So when we look at a chart that's called a progress chart, we're looking at how the planets are moving in the sky very, very slowly. The aspects in this chart are going to move a half a degree, a one degree, 2 degrees. And the idea is to look at a progress chart and say, what is the meaning of life? What is going on here? Why are we here? What's our purpose? And so right now, the progress chart of this group is saying a couple of things. There's a beautiful trine that is down here, whoops, in the 4th house of the home. This is the 4th house is our emotional security. It's our physical security. It's where we feel safe and nurtured. And the 4th house is traditionally ruled by the moon. For the bells, the moon is the ruler of this chart. So all of you need to do what astrologer Ann Ortley always is suggesting. I hear her say this all the time. Do your moon, follow your moon. So the moon is the ruler of your chart. The moon is in the 4th house in the sign of Virgo, that wants to purify and crystallize and make things really, really sharp and clear. In this beautiful trine with Pluto, in Capricorn, the sign of Capricorn is a cardinal sign of building. Pluto is saying, let's look at what we've built. How do we build it higher? How do we call in an architect and make some adjustments to the house, right? So on a progress chart, that's a beautiful trine going on. Here, there's also another lovely trine happening with this Venus to Saturn. So Venus, love, beauty, resources, um, in Gemini, saying, okay, Saturn, let's look at all of our options, all of our choices about what we can be doing. Now, the Saturn here is also making what we call a square. So a trine that I've been pointing out, those are harmonious energies. The square energy is about where there's friction. It's about get out of your comfort zone. It's about how do we, how do we grow? And the square here is between Saturn at 1 degree and Uranus in the house of groups at 5 degrees of Taurus. So the question becomes, where are we in our thinking? How might we be more innovative in our thinking? That's one of the questions. It's kind of like pushing the group. Has the group become a little too comfortable? I don't know. But that's a square here that would beg that question. The other interesting square that's happening here is that here in the sign of Cancer, there is a square at 13 degrees to the ascendant is making a square to the natal sun. So the ascendant is about, how we're perceived by the world, and it's squaring that sun here, natal sun in Aries, saying, let's take out the mirror. Let's look at how we've changed. Let's look at where we're going in the future. What is it that we want to do? Where are we taking the group next? How do we want others to see us? So that's what's happening with this particular square. So those are, much bigger themes. And, my sense is from, looking at the chart of where things are today, I could, as many of you know, have had readings with me, we could be here for hours, right? But there's just so much richness in what this group has, and it's unique and it's special and it's deeply loving, and it is changing the world. Every time this group meets, every day, you're healing the world and making the world better. Because up here in your 10th house of authority, you have Mercury in Pisces. Mercury in Pisces is refined, visionary thinking. And it's conjunct with Neptune. Neptune is about emotional attunement. Neptune is about transcendence. Neptune dissolves what it touches to make things better so you can see more clearly. And this is beautiful energy at the midheaven of the chart, at the very top of the chart. So the big questions, I'm going to take this off screen share, and I just wrote some of these things down to see what you all think. So I'm going to stop the share and come back. And just first ask, how was that for everybody? Good?
Well, I'll begin. First of all, thank you so much, Melissa. That was absolutely fantastic in the overview and including all of us, you know, me, all of us, the bells, because Melissa has all of our birth dates, so she was able to do the charts of each of all of the bells. So that was that second chart. And then also of the bells itself. But for me, my mind is like going bing, 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 bing. It's like, and some of the questions you're asking is Well, and one of the questions kind of hit me was like, are we getting too comfortable doing our thing every single day? Maybe we should change it up. And I remember actually the other weekend, uh, I asked Nancy to do a little qigong, and that was wonderful. There was like four of us, and we did a little qigong. I always appreciate when Lee suggested having fun Fridays. So we kind of changed it up. So now we have this little ritual of doing the Fun Friday. And so, and at the moment, I have a certain ritual. Maybe I pull out a card from Osho. I do readings from Mark Nepo, and also I love when Heather suggests everybody to write their little essay. What I believe in, and that was really fantastic. So, and then the other thoughts that kind of crossed in my mind. I mean, Heather and I just watched this movie Eiffel that was on Amazon Prime, and seeing the building of the Eiffel Tower. And of course, it had a lot of symbolism for me personally because that was the last image that Anton gave of me to rebuild my spine, physically rebuild my spine, in my mind of using the Eiffel Tower. But then I realized reading more about the Eiffel Tower, it became literally a radio tower. It is beaming out to the world, yet the four legs are really firmly anchored to the earth. So talk about heaven and earth. So all of those images are coming to mind. Anyway, I'm just going to throw out to each one of you. I mean, I'm sure we can talk about it more as days goes on, but that was I really truly enjoyed the presentation. So who wants to go? I'll go ahead, and Beth.
Wow, Melissa, that was awesome. And what really struck me, just taking a general perception of everything that you said, really connects with something we spoke about, I think was my last time on Bells, which is, what is our mission? And you said that, Saturn, I mean, my notes might not be exactly correct, but Saturn is about organizing. Cancer, oceans of the tide and infinity, and Bells as a group, water, collective emotion is very strong. But, and then there's the conflicts and the friction and my interpretation, like the itch to move on. What's the next step? And, what have we built and how can we expand on it? How can we build more? Or how can we build differently? Or what else can we build?
Well, that's beautifully said, Annbeth, because Saturn right now is in Pisces. So Saturn is inviting us to be more responsible on a psychic level, a spiritual level, and an emotional level. So it's about being responsible for our own feelings, but it's also asking, what's your dream? Because Pisces is the intuitive energy that you put out in the world. Pluto is now in Aquarius. So if you think of the song, The Age of Aquarius, but we're at the very first step of what will be a 20-year cycle. So what is the dream for the group or the mission of the group, and how will the energy of the group contribute to this 20-year cycle of building a more harmonious world?
Yes. Yeah, exactly. How can we, you mentioned before, how can we be more, I don't know, effective, or where are we going? we're on a healing journey. We're on a journey to heal the world. And, and we asked the other day, what is our mission? And this you spoke the whole time. In my mind, I just kept hearing, what is our mission? What is our contribution to the world as it is today? Where do we go next? And that RD mentioned Eiffel. We've built the foundation. We are solid on 4 legs here. Where are we going? What more are we building now? Where is it going? So I loved it, Melissa. Thank you so much. And thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Annabeth. So I know Melissa has other questions, but I thought maybe we might hear a little bit of everything from somebody. How about that? Is that okay?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Go ahead, Mary Beth. You have to unmute.
Wow, thank you so much. That was just incredible. I mean, I'm sure as everyone will echo or nods. And I got so much. I always think sometimes when Annabeth talks, I sit behind her in class because she gives me the ideas of what I was thinking of, and sometimes takes my answers. No, I'm teasing. But I thought what struck me was, they say how you do one thing is how you do everything. That's a phrase I've heard in terms of, and then of course, as I think that, I look around my apartment and say, but for the group, I feel like the individual is stronger when encompassed by a safe group. And that's sort of what kept kind of, as you were speaking, and I kept having ideas about, oh yeah, we could try, just ideas that come about what we do for the world. And one thing that sort of struck me is that as we begin to formulate that and have that come to the surface, what that's going to look like is something that I hear a lot of. And I've been listening to Abraham Hicks and Esther Hicks, is the more, well, and I think Lois sent this out, like the world needs people to do their passion, to connect with what's important to them. So as the bells, like now that we're in solid foundation and trying different things, like it seems to me it would be important to not lose sight of that very essence of what we offer each other, which is this space to be safe and grow and try things. And maybe that's where, like, starting small and the other will come as someone maybe sees something and says, oh, let's contribute to this or that. Because there's so many options. I mean, we could form a not-for-profit, the Bells of Hope. I mean, there's so many possibilities. And the other thing I really struck to me is this, when you have the circle and this time passing and very slow moving planets. And I was thinking about my own personal progress in trying to get my brain to work the way I want it to. It's very, very slow and often frustrating. But at the end of the day or the end of the year, there's Christmas and a whole season has passed. And just that there was I so appreciated having that laid out in that way, because it felt like something positive to hang on to and gave comfort to the times when we're talking about the itch to change, or I'm trying this, it's not working, things like that. So I don't know. I just thought it was wonderful. I'm so happy to be part of this, and thank you so much.
Oh, thank you, Mary Beth.
Thank you.
Who would like to share
Melissa,
next?
so I just as a thank you, it was excellent, and it was a lot of fun. Just for clarification, because RD had said the second chart was all the bells. Wasn't it just the bells' date of birth on April 3rd? And I don't know if you did do anything with all the bells' birthdays or not. So
right. So the bells, you're a group collective, an individual entity. So what I did was I took the first bells, the date the time and the location here in New York City. So that's, the chart represents the collective. I didn't, you know, it wouldn't be effective to do each individual chart in relation to the bells. So we have to have a collective chart. And just the fascinating things that I had mentioned that were so striking, but I think the thing that really hits me the most is that rising sign of Cancer for the group, and that cardinal water energy, which is such powerful emotional energy, and the fact that the sign is ruled by the moon. And when you think of the moon in cycles, like every 30 days, the moon is making a cycle. And the fact that at the time of founding, and even in RD's own chart, the moon in Leo is the sign of kings. It's the sign of majesty. It's the sign of the sun. The sun is the traditional ruler of Leo. So it's about playfulness and youthfulness. And there's this eternal creativity about it. So while individually, when I looked at sun signs and rising signs, there isn't one element that's, the one element that really stands out is the earth, which is about grounding and manifesting. But there's very little, you know, the other elements kind of surround it in a helper way, you know, but earth among the individuals coming together for the collective. Because the one thing that I didn't mention to you that is also interesting here is every sign has a modality, kind of like its DNA and how it's going to act. So for example, I've just said that Cancer is a cardinal water sign. Cardinal wants to get out there and make things happen. That's its energy. It's a motivating energy. The other modality is fixed. So when I say that there's strong fixed energy among the, you know, the individuals in the group, fixed is about loyalty and stability and having the strength to hold what is hard in order to create something. Mutable is the third modality. Mutable is about moving things along. So when I look at just cardinal, fixed, and mutable, those three modalities, this group has perfect balance. You have, just look here, six people with cardinal modality going on, 7 with fixed and 7 with mutable. So in terms of how you work together, I think that's extraordinary. So the DNA of how you're going to express yourselves is in a perfect balance. And I think that to have Taurus, which is ruled by the planetary ruler is Venus, the planet of love and resources and what we value, not just in terms of physical possessions, but how we value each other, is just, it's just awe-inspiring, because clearly, to me anyway, it says that this is an example of just how much, if we trust in the universe will create something really beautiful. You know, because it's just, looking at this just says to me how we're all so blessed to be in this extraordinary moment at this time, and to have RD leading us with his rising sign of Aquarius, which is out there to, you know, make the world better for tomorrow.
Thank you. Miss Nancy.
Well, I'm thinking, here's how my brain's thinking. When this group started, it was the height of fear, the height of COVID. A lot of us in this group were at our worst health-wise. Sue wasn't in great shape. I wasn't in great shape. Mary Beth, Ann Beth, a lot of people had a lot of problems. And the group held together because we were treading water, holding each other up, holding each other together to get through that time. And over the course of the 3 years, we did it. Everybody's health is improving. We've had gems of knowledge from every aspect, from how to cook healthy meals to how to create art to how to write poetry. I mean, we've had 3 years worth of gems. So I'm thinking it might be a good idea to have some sort of maintenance manual, some sort of thing where we could say, okay, here's the listing of the great movies and great books that have been mentioned in the bells. And I'm not saying to backtrack and try and figure out what everybody said over the course of 3 years, but we might think about making, what's the matter?
Leticia has it all.
Oh, she does. She does. I'll transcribe it. And so I think it might be a good time. You know, I'm thinking, you know, I can't save the world. I can't solve the problems. There's so much going on. That's like such a massive, massive project. I wouldn't know where to start. But we have what, 20 people here. If we had some sort of outline where you could say, you know, I feel like reading a bit of poetry today. Where should I, you know, give me a recommendation? Or I'm thinking Rita Maida introduced me to alcohol art, alcohol inks. There's so much knowledge. The prayers, when Sue and Reverend Barbara, they say their chants and their prayers for the holidays and the special occasions. And we have Rita Maida with the Jan religion. There's so much rich culture among everybody. It might, and I don't even know how it would manifest. I keep thinking maintenance manual, you know, to keep things going and to shortcut having to look things up, having to say, you know, where was that book, or was that movie on Netflix, or was it on Amazon Prime? And I know that Leticia has done that. She probably has every word documented. But in my head, I'm thinking a smaller mission rather than going out there and trying to save Ukraine or save it. And I think if we could do that among the small group, it's going to filter out. It's going to filter out to family and friends. When my sister-in-law says, yeah, you know, I'm not feeling so great, I got a migraine. Well, I remember this one mentioned she ate this for a month and the migraine's cleared, or she eliminated red dyes. So I think something along that lines might be a way to start.
Oh, great. Thank you, Nancy. Miss Sue.
Beautiful suggestion.
Excellent.
Nancy, you articulated that so perfectly in, you know, you took things out of my brain or whatever. But I want to put a different spin on something here too.
Okay.
One of the things that we do, like in the School of Feng Shui, for example, that I practice, we believe that the energy comes into the Taiji and goes out, and it comes in and it goes back out. And I feel like that's how we are. Whatever it is that we're offering the world or our world, because I don't know about anybody else, but a lot of times when I'm walking with my friends in the afternoon, I'm talking about things that we may have discussed during bells, because the readings and the responses to the reading are often just so amazing, and they're so pertinent. And the day may not have started out that way, but at the end, as you digest and as you maybe even get a little bit away from this amazing group of human beings, it helps us to kind of manifest or understand what we may have just gone through. Like today, Melissa, this was phenomenal. It's not something I know that much. I don't know that much or really anything about this form of astrology. I know about 9-star astrology more deeply. And this was it was interesting to me, and it made me start thinking, oh, well, how would this be as it relates to? And I enjoy that kind of mental exercise anyway. But it was really great. And I want to thank you for putting so much time and effort into what you did. Clearly, it didn't take you 5 minutes, but it was really wonderful. I feel like there's a certain loving energy amongst this group that is unique to the group. And I can't imagine finding it anywhere else. So in that regard, it's extremely meaningful to me. And I feel like whatever we say and do during our time, whenever we're together, just ripples out into the world and then comes back to us in small waves, and we push it back out. And I'm so pleased with that. When you see things going on in the world or in your personal world, you feel kind of as if this is, the chi of your life, of who you are as an individual and who we are as a group. And I love that. That's all I wanted to say.
Oh, thank you, Sue.
On a practical level, Melissa, how's your time? And anyone else that needs to go, maybe you want to speak up first if you have to leave,
Um, I understand people need to go. The hour went very quickly. I can stay on for a little while longer, like another 10 minutes or so, if people wanted to. I think what Sue just said brings me to the last question. And this, I think, is a good one to journal on. And there are 2 questions really, and it addresses this point about the group and what to do. And the question is, how are you spending your life energy? Really thinking about that. How are you spending your life energy, and what's really important to you? Because where we put our attention and on what is really important is where we have the deepest impact for ourselves and for each other. So I thought those were big questions. I'm going to be working on these questions for myself for a while, but those are the ones that I would leave with to close.
Okay.
Oh, go ahead, Barbara.
Yeah. Melissa, I thought that was just absolutely beautiful. And I absolutely agree and feel what everyone has said. It was beautiful, just absolutely beautiful. Thank you so, so much. It was more than what you were bringing forth in your knowledge, but I also felt your heart. And it felt like everything that you did for this reading came from your heart. And I felt that, and that's just so, so beautiful. And thank you so much. I loved what you just said, that there's love here. There's a lot of love here. It was created by each individual who came to the bells. who decided that they wanted to be here. It was a choice, and they decided that they wanted to be here, and they came. And as Nancy said, a lot of us were in a dark place. We were struggling because of the circumstances that were going on in the world. And now look at where we are, and we're in a beautiful, beautiful place. And yes, this is like the first phase of the Aquarian age, and Aquarian age is it's about more love. It's about expansion of love, and we've been in that. I feel that we've been in that process, because when we come here, we even though we talk about different things and share different things, we're in a place of love, because this is what everyone has created. RD and Heather started this, and I feel that they started it based in love. The intention was to bring together for people a space of love where we could share and, as you said, find value in each other and what we bring to the group. It's interesting that it started on the 3rd of April, and it's the 3rd year, and 3 is a number of completion. And so perhaps we've completed a cycle, and now it's time for another cycle, maybe an expansion of what we've been doing. But I think because we're bringing this love here and light, and that whatever we do, we are continuing to vibrate the world with our love and with our light. So we don't have to think about anything to send light and love out. Just being who we are in this space, it's happening. And I will share with you, Melissa, because I mentioned it to everyone before, that every day what I do, because I don't get direct sunlight pouring into my apartment, what I do now is I have one of my speakers next to my plants so they can get the energy of love from the bells. And so what has happened, I usually get blossoms coming out in April, and I've got blossoms have already started coming out in March.
Oh, wow.
See it? Can you see it? That's the fan. I'm gonna have to take a picture. I'm gonna have to take a picture. You can't see the blossoms, but there's this really tall blossom right here. That's the tallest one, and I've never, ever, ever, as long as I've had this beautiful plant, never had a tall one this high. I'll have to take a picture and send it to everyone. But this is what is going on with my plants, the love, a healing energy that comes from the bells. We all get it individually, collectively, and so does my plants.
Oh,
So I think that whatever we do individually and collectively, whatever we decide to do, it's going to be grounded in love, and that love goes out to them. And I think we can trust and know that we have an effect on each other. We individually, we do our healing work, but also collectively we do it, and it goes out into the world. And I know that we can trust that. We don't have to worry about it. We don't have to question it. It goes out to the world, and it is received where it needs to be received.
Thank you, Barbara.
Beautifully said. Beautifully said.
Lois.
Miss Lois.
Well, Melissa, that was really magnificent. And I love the whole collective piece of it. And everybody said everything that was going through my head, so I'm not going to repeat it, but I loved everyone's share. And, it's true how just being together changes the world. I truly believe the collective, when we get together, it makes a difference, because it does ripple out. It does ripple out. And even as Sue mentioned, we'll have a conversation and that'll ripple out into, the rest of the day or maybe the next day. And the other part I love about how unique we all are, yet how the same we all are. So we all have different ways that we see things, but the bottom core of it all is we're all the same. And that's what I love the most. This connection that is, and it's just natural. So it feels so good to be in a place where we can all just be ourselves, just be natural, and it feels really good. So it's, to me, that's really magnificent. And how you were able to show the different images of the opportunities and the qualities, how when we're in sync, we get the benefits. So that's another thing, it's all out there all the time, but if you're out of sync with it, you're not going to get the benefits. So by being together, what RD and Heather have created, it brings us all in sync with the universe. So we're always here to receive the benefits. So I want to thank RD and Heather, thank everyone in the bells, and Melissa, this was absolutely magnificent. Yes, you didn't just give us, education, you gave us heart, and beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you, Lois. Miss Leticia.
Hello, everyone. Melissa, that was really wonderful. And I enjoyed it a lot. And it's a gift for all of us. And it's also a reminder that everything is changing, sometimes slowly, sometimes quickly, but everything is like chi. And I loved when you spoke about trines. They're easy, they are harmonious, but squares are can be more difficult, and it's an itch, but sometimes it's a push, and sometimes it's necessary to have a push, and the fact that Uranus is enlightenment, and it can be like you said, the lightning, and it can be like a lightning bolt that all of a sudden you become conscious, or you're able to make a decision, or you're able to understand something and then move forward, and it can be very, very quickly. So this makes it that time is relative. And I also love that aspect, because when we think that we're in a difficult situation, when we are, but sometimes poof, it can just dissolve or explode sometimes, but it's for the benefit of one person or of the group, or etc. And I find it really interesting how we are all different, but in this difference we are harmonious. And I find that is such a gift, because it's permission for us to be ourselves. And that has been your basis, RD and Heather, that we can be ourselves, and we've grown to love each other and respect each other and admire each other. And Nancy, I love your idea. That's such a lovely idea, to sort of, it's like creating a necklace of gems, like you said. So I think I really like this idea. And thank you all. And thank you, Melissa. And what a great idea you had, RD and Heather, to do this. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you for everyone's comments, but it's all RD started all this. But thank you.
But she had to deal with everybody in the living room every morning. And Miss Rita.
Thank you so much. This is wonderful. Everyone's already shared all the thoughts. It's a joy to hear your what you had done and all the work you put into it. And it's absolutely a joy every day to be on Bells with all of you. It's been marvelous. And thank you so much, RD and Heather, for bringing us all together.
And Miss Mary Beth.
Well, one thing that keeps coming through is this, our group, and like what's so unique about it is we come from such different backgrounds. Like I have a girlfriend who has a very powerful group. They go around, but they're all moms, and they're moms for a cause, or they're all survivors of something specific, and there's such value in that. But what's so beautiful about our group, I feel like, is the love is so strong, and as everyone has mentioned, we are so different, and I've gotten to learn about different people's experiences with religions or traditions, or things that people have been through. And when you mentioned you had spoken about the movie Eiffel, and when I slowed it down, or how I heard it at first, was I fell. And the idea of falling and rising up, and that the bells, when we came together, we talked about everyone was in a treading water place, or afraid, had things going on sick wise, or, and so that's a beautiful, those images to me are really powerful. And I love the idea of that, the referencing of the different books. And yeah, I often reference things we've talked about on the bells. My challenge is getting the accuracy and the timing right. So I might go into work tonight, I work part-time, and someone could be having a meltdown, and I could say, that's because the moon is in Leo. Or something silly like that. Sorry, I don't mean to yell into them. And then I think of things to remember, sometimes in songs. So with me, of nervousness, you get a bad joke. Otherwise, you get a song for trying to remember. And Melissa, I had this vision of you doing a show of this on the different aspects of the world, like really getting into something that's going on. Because even as much as people might say, oh my God, there's so much richness in it, and it might spark different people's ideas about coming at something a different way, and thereby getting a creative solution. I mean, I get excited. And then for part of the musical opening number, we could all be coming out, either scooters or with our dogs. I don't have a dog, but ding, 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 thoughts of the bald man. Then because you're sorry. It was funny in the moment. It's really loving. And ooh, plans, things are gonna get easier. You'll grow with the bells, love. Okay, maybe I need to have lunch. Okay.
Oh, thank you.
Thanks for indulging me. Thanks.
Well,
Melissa, I just want to thank you so much for your time, your effort, your energy, and the love that it's clear that you put so much time and effort, and it was amazing. You're a great speaker, and you're a great storyteller, and I love the way you wove in all the different pieces. So thank you so much for today.
Well, thank you. Thank you all so much for today. This has been wonderful. Thank you all.
this has been absolutely
And,
fabulous.
to be continued.
Actually, I mean, I think your presentation will continue
Yeah.
and reverberate for long, long, long time.
Yeah.
I'm sure there'll be a lot of discussions, a lot of things.
Definitely.
And well, actually, I wanted to sing a little song just like Mary Beth.
Mary Beth, you got him going.
You got me going. So I want to sing Moon River, because you were talking about the moon and the chi energy of the moon, and Heather gifted me singing lessons, and I remember Leticia was mentioned how my chi energy was actually kind of low in the beginning of the bells, but has gotten stronger and stronger, and it's because of all of you collectively have supported me, but you also supported all of us. So, Moon River, wider than a mile, I'm crossing you in style someday. Oh, dream maker, you heartbreaker, wherever you're going, I'm going your way. Two drifters off to see the world. There's such a lot of world to see. We're after the same rainbow's end, waiting round the bend, my huckleberry friend, Moon River and me.
Oh.
And Beth, that was a great lip sync.
That was great.
I have to tell you, brought me to tears.
Oh.
That might be probably not the first song, but the first song I can remember that I ever sang.
Oh. Well, I'll have to say,
It was
this
Andy Williams, wasn't it?
um oh, who was it? Oh, I forgot.
I think it was Andy Williams.
Oh,
Thank you, Nancy.
oh, anyway, but actually this was my first song when I played the clarinet. And also, this was my first song that I chose to sing with Laurel, Heather's sister, when I started my singing lessons. And so, and the moon obviously has a great effect on me, but also it's on all of us. And I thought it was absolutely fascinating and wonderful to listen to your presentation, Melissa, about how the moon has truly affected us. And the moon is of the heart. So, anyway, so I thought that maybe that might be a nice closing rather than doing a meditation together. And maybe we'll just close with the bells. We open with the bells and let's close with the bells. How about that?
I have one question, if I may,
Go ahead.
Melissa. You said there were two questions. One was, how are you spending your life energy? And then the second question was what? Do you remember?
Oh, the second question is what's really important to you?
Okay, thank you.
And I'm sure we can continue. We can ask these questions, threading along our discussions as we continue with the evolution of the bells. And actually, that resonated with me, what Barbara was saying. This is the third year. So this is like, a completion of heaven, humanity, and earth. And now we're going on to the next level, wherever that will transcend us. I don't know wherever that will be. And so, oh, I love it. Thank you so much. So let's close with the bells and just relax and breathe. Put our feet flat on the floor. Sit comfortably in our chairs. And let's come back and maybe imagine ourselves all sitting in a circle in this beautiful gazebo, just overlooking the calm blue waters beneath us. The lotus flowers are just floating. You could see the mountains in the distance giving us support. The dragon and tiger hills on each side. And here we are gathered together in the center, the Ming Tong, or the bright hall. And you can see the moon rising in the distance. And let's just close our time together with the ringing of the bells of hope. Om Mani Padme Om, 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 Om Mani Padme Om. Om Mani Padme Om. The six true words is filled with love and compassion and kindness, strength and harmony and love. Thank you so much. And I'm going to close the recording.
And Qigong at 2 o'clock for anyone who'd like to join us.
Okay, I'll try to be back.